Welcome to my YouTube channel and to my train room. For this week's video I am going to go through some of the freight cars that I purchased recently, both at the Roseville swap meet and on eBay, and I'm going to get some of them put together to enter service. So let's get the camera turned around and get to work. Well, here is the nature of today's project. I have a whole load of Accurail box cars to assemble. They are all wood sides, mostly outside brace, single sheathed. This one, the New York Central car, I got at the Roseville swap meet. The other 7 I found on eBay. They are all assorted New England roads. I have 2 for the Boston and Maine, 1 Rutland, 1 Maine Central, Lehigh, New England, New Haven and Portland Terminal. The perfect cars for my railroad. I really like the Accurail kits. I have for years. They're nicely detailed and they go together very easily. There are a couple of things worth mentioning with this particular kit. Don't throw away the instructions, even though they're not necessary, because the brake staff is taped to them. They can easily get thrown away before you realise that it's there. Most car kits that I've assembled come out at around ½ an ounce too light, and I have to add extra weight. The Accurail kits, or this particular box car anyway, has a beefier weight and it ends up exactly right. Of course, the irony there is that it's kind of tight. If I don't get it absolutely perfect on the floor, it's not going to go in. And there's no way of installing it after the floor is in place. And if I try to glue it in first, I run the risk of getting it jammed immovably in the top of the car where the center of gravity is going to be too high. So what I do is I discard the supplied weight and go back to my trusty bag of ½ inch nuts. I've found that 4 of these nuts is exactly the same weight as the piece of metal that I'm replacing. So I center 1 over each truck kingpin, making sure they are exactly on the center line of the car, and then I just put the others close to them. I could distribute them evenly along the length of the car, but it doesn't matter as long as the arrangement is symmetrical, so both ends are weighted the same. I'm going to do a batch of 3 of these right now because my supply of nuts was nearly depleted. I only had 12 of them left. So let's do 1 more and I will check in with you again later. Well, even though I didn't have enough of the large nuts to do everything, I found a bag of slightly smaller nuts. I weighed them and 2 of these is equivalent to 1 of those. So I've weighted everything. I'm only going to be able to finish 7 of the 8 cars today because 1 of them was missing some parts. I will have to wait for replacements. Anyway, I'm not sure whether the couplers supplied with the cars are really that compatible with KDs, so I'm just going to put standard KD number 5 couplers in. I have several hundred pairs that I purchased a long while ago. Right, now for the trucks. As always, one truck is loose so that it can move in any direction, and the other one will swivel freely but not rock. Now let's get my coupler height gauge and give it a test. And both ends of that are perfect. So it's time to put the rest of the car together, get all the others assembled, Well, I've now got all the bodies attached to the underframes. I had to improvise on the last car because of the missing parts. They're not actually very easy to get in because they're bowed inwards and they're a very tight fit. Well, I've assembled all the brake wheels, got them threaded through the top platform, and now I'm just going to glue the bottom ends with the tiniest spot of super glue, which I'm applying with a toothpick. And just stem the end of the brake staff in it. I'm not attempting to glue it where it goes through the brake platform because I don't have the runny stuff available at the moment. This is the gel, and it won't work its way between the two pieces by capillary action like the thin stuff will. And those, I think, can now enter service. I'll come back and weather them some other time. Actually, there is one other thing I do have to do before these cars can be set free on the layout. Both the Boston and Maine cars have the same number, so I have to change one of them. What I'm going to do is paint out some of the background to change the last 4 into a 1. Now, I've mixed up some paint here from red and brown. I don't think it's a perfect match, but I think it'll be close enough. Once the car gets some weathering, I don't think the patch will show. Can't even see the colour change, but I can still see the bits of the 4 showing through it. It needs to be a little bit thicker. I think that'll do. Now for the other side. "71764" has now become 71761. I'm not going to bother with the numbers on the end of the car because I can't even read them anyway. Well, now that those 8 Accurail cars are done, I'm going to work on some of the cars I got at the swap meet. These are already built, some of them are even nicely weathered. They all have metal wheels and KD couplers, and I got them for $5 each. Make sure the wheels spin. Check the gauge. Need to check the coupler height. Right, well, one of these is too low and the other one is broken, so I need to replace couplers on there. Well, here's 5 more cars ready to go. 4 of them are even weathered. Had to replace one of the couplers on the New York Central car. I needed a brake wheel on the New York S&W. Not quite sure where that is. I'll have to look it up on my atlas. So that needed a new brake wheel, and 2 of them needed extra weight. The GM&O car had a droopy coupler, and in trying to straighten it I managed to break it off, so I've glued it to the weight. That will have to set up, and then I need a whole load of extra weight in there because it's really light. I'm going to do one more car in this batch. I got this one at the swap meet. An Erie steel box car, the Yardmaster series by Branchline trains. I've never assembled one of these kits before, so it's going to be an adventure. Well, this car proved fairly easy to assemble. The only slightly awkward bit was that Every single locating hole was too small, had to be opened out with a drill. And they even supply the same brand of weights that I use. Even with these, it's still way too light. I've got to add quite a bit of weight to it. That's only about 3 ounces, so I need some more nuts. That's a better weight. Well, here is the result of the day's effort. A long string of new box cars heading for service. I already have too many cars on the layout, but these are all for the appropriate location. Mostly New England, all northeastern. So I will just remove some of the less appropriate cars from the layout, put them back in boxes.